Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Tominator, Tom Churchello. Welcome to another episode of the TomCast. Going solo today. The lovely Morgan is busy with her mother, and Big Joe is working hard getting stuff done for our clients. A lot of things going on again this week. Let's start off with some deaths that have just come out in recent days. They say that deaths come in threes, and it looks like that's what's happening. Earlier in the week, Roberta Flack died at the age of 88. For those who don't know, Roberta Flack was an incredible singer in the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. She's best known for her 1972 hit, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, which was featured in a Clint Eastwood movie, Play Misty for Me. Eastwood paid $2,000 to use the song, and he used Roberta Flack in some subsequent films. He was a huge fan her whole life. Her biggest hit was Killing Me Softly, which was, I think, the Song of the Year, won a Grammy Award in 1973. The song was later covered by the Fugees in 1996. It was an incredible worldwide hit. Just an unbelievable song. Both versions are tremendous. And are karaoke staples, I think, even today. If you go to karaoke, there's a good chance that somebody, young lady with talent, will sing Killing Me Softly. If anyone, younger viewers, haven't heard it, I strongly recommend listening to Roberta Flack. Both The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, a great love song, and Killing Me Softly. She had a lot of other hits, too, but those were her biggest. So she had a good life, 88 years old. For 40 years, she lived in Dakota, an apartment building in New York City, which is famous as the home of John Lennon and Yoko Ono. She lived right next door to Lennon and Ono. I think Sean Lennon, Yoko Ono, and John Lennon's son referred to her as Aunt Roberta. So rest in peace, Roberta Flack. Another death that just was announced yesterday, tremendous actor, Gene Hackman, died at the age of 95 at his home in New Mexico with his wife. And one of his dogs also died, and they're investigating it now. That they apparently have ruled out foul play, like they don't believe it was murdered, but they think it might have been some kind of accident where a space heater or something fell over, and some kind of maybe carbon monoxide poisoning or something of that nature. I think his one or two other dogs survived. Hackman was 95. His wife, I think, was 62 or 63. So his second wife, much younger woman. So many movies that he was in. He won 2 Academy Awards. One as Best Actor for The French Connection in 1971. And he also won Best Supporting Actor for a great Western, Clint Eastwood directed Western called Unforgiven in 1992. But some of his other films, the film that really made him a star was Bonnie and Clyde, which was a great gangster movie in 1967. Starred Warren Beatty as Clyde Barrow and Faye Dunaway as Bonnie Parker, the legendary bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde. And Hackman played Buck Barrow, Clyde's younger brother, in the film. He was also in The Poseidon Adventure, which was remade, I think, twice, a 1972 disaster movie. Disaster films were incredibly popular in the early 70s. The Poseidon Adventure film set on an ocean liner on New Year's Eve that was hit by a massive tidal wave and overturned. And he played the preacher on the ship, and he was able to lead several survivors to safety. He ended up dying toward the end of the movie himself, his character, but he was great. That's a movie. A lot of times you see it played, I find, on New Year's Eve, or when I get home on New Year's Eve, 1 a.m. or something, and it's on. But if anyone out there hasn't seen it, younger viewers, The Poseidon Adventure, the original 1972 version, a young Pamela Sue Martin was in it, who I think every guy my age was probably in love with, but she went on to star in Nancy Drew TV show, Nancy Drew Mysteries, and is most famous for being Fallon Carrington on the original Dynasty in the 80s. But she was one of the survivors in the Poseidon Adventure. Only a few of the passengers survived the tidal wave. But she had really short, they had to cut her dress off in the movie so she could navigate the ship. And so she looked great in that. Pamela Sue Martin. Shout out to Pamela, wherever you are today. Open invite to appear on the TomCast. Some other Gene Hackman movies, there's so many. The Conversation was nominated for Best Picture in 1974, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, who we all know from The Godfather and other films. Crimson Tide, 1995 submarine movie. Hoosiers, 1986, a basketball film. He plays the coach of a small-town Indiana high school basketball team. The Birdcage is a comedy. Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. That's a really funny movie for those who haven't seen The Birdcage. And as I mentioned, Unforgiven. So he wasn't shortchanged, Gene Hackman. He lived to be 95, but a tremendous actor, and may he, again, rest in peace. Some of our younger viewers, as I said, it comes in threes. Michelle Trachtenberg died at the age of 39. She had health issues, apparently, I think liver issues for a few years. But she's most famous for appearing in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was a Sarah Michelle Gellar early 2000s TV show. Michelle Trachtenberg was in that. I think she's most famous for Gossip Girl, which starred Blake Lively ensemble cast from 2007 to 2012, a television show. She played like the bad girl on that show, Georgina, Michelle Trachtenberg. So obviously no one deserves to die no one deserves to die at any age, but at the age of 39. So our prayers go out to her family and friends. All right, let's change gears a little bit. Perhaps one of the greatest kickers in NFL history. He holds the NFL record for the longest field goal ever. Is Justin Tucker, 66-yard field goal. He's kicks for the Baltimore Ravens for many years. Quite a few masseuses. Like, apparently, from what we know, like Justin Tucker likes to get massages, I guess, help him with his workout regimen or what have you. Apparently 16 massage therapists from 8 different businesses, are making allegations against him about improper conduct, exposing his genitals, apparently even brushing his penis on them or on the equipment, and also allegedly, this is all alleged, of course, left semen on some of the massage tables. So my problem with this is these acts, alleged acts, were to have occurred between 2012 and 2016. So my question would be, well, why is this? Why are they coming forward now? I don't condone these alleged acts, but we're talking almost over 10 years ago for a lot of it. Why wouldn't you report that immediately? So we'll see what happens with that. Apparently Justin Tucker has been a good family man, a father and a husband. We'll see where this goes, if there's any credence in it. I've been talking for many months about gambling on professional and collegiate sports, and how it, with the proliferation of gambling, how it's being corrupted, and where fixes it seems like every day you open up. Well, no one reads the newspaper anymore, but you look at your wherever you get your news from online. It seems like every day there's another school that's under investigation, or an NBA player or NHL player, whatever. But now the University of New Orleans they're having a horrible year. I think they got like 4 or 5 wins, college basketball team. There's allegations that their players were fixing games, and so a lot of the players were suspended. And I thought this was a little unusual. Why don't we say that? But the school named a new president of basketball operations, and that's, for those who remember, Master P had some success, hip-hop, Southern hip-hop, in probably the 90s, I guess. But he played in the NBA. It's not like he doesn't have some basketball. He was a really good basketball player, and did make it into the NBA. But they designate him to be the school designated him to be the president of basketball operations. So hopefully Master P, I think his real name is Percy Miller, given name, can straighten that situation out. But I think this is, as I've said before, is only the tip of the iceberg. If you're a college basketball player, or any athlete that doesn't have the potential for a lucrative professional career, the temptation is so great, to take money to fix an event, or instead of winning by 15, you win by 10 or whatever. And gamblers can make a lot of money, based on that information. So this is a really dangerous situation that, as I've been saying, that these sports make, billions and billions of dollars. And if it's corrupted, there's going to be a major problem. So I got some follow-ups of topics that we discussed in recent weeks. I mentioned there was the hockey had a 4 nations playoff. The NHL, well, it was not the NHL really, but the NHL was suspended, so these 4 nations could have a mid-season playoff. It was U.S., Canada, Finland, and Sweden. So the final was last Thursday. A week ago today was Canada and the U.S. in a really exciting game. Canada defeated the United States 3-2 in overtime in Boston at TD Gardens Arena. So congratulations to Canada, our friends to the north. Contrary to what some of them may believe, we don't consider them the enemy. Even though some of them apparently don't like us right now. But, congratulations to Canada. A hard-fought, well-earned victory over the U.S. in the 4 nations series. So that was very popular. I think we'll be seeing this 4 nations thing probably. Who knows, they might bring in different countries or expand it to more than 4 teams. But it was so popular that we'll probably see it again. I want to talk a little about economics, which can be boring. Obviously President Trump is doing things to try to, make the government leaner and reduce our budget deficit. For those who don't know, in 2024, the United States government took in $4.92 trillion and spent $6.75 trillion. So that's a deficit of $1.83 trillion. So for those who don't know, $1 billion is 1,000 millions. A trillion is 1,000 billion. So a trillion is 1,000 millions. So it's an incredible amount of money. And, like no business or individual could operate. You could say, well, it's the U.S. government. Oh, $1.83 trillion deficit for a year is not a big deal. But the interest we're paying on the debt, because it's not like the government just prints more money. We have to sell bonds and pay interest. Like Japan owns a ton of United States debt. China owns a ton of our debt. And we're, the amount we're paying interest, like, And I don't think the average person really worries about it. Maybe they just figure, well, it won't be my problem. I'll be dead. But if you have kids, sooner or later, there's going to have to be, there's going to be some kind of resolution to this. So what President Trump is trying to do is reduce government spending to limit the deficit. That's just a yearly deficit. Our total national debt, how much money the U.S. government owes, is $36.2 trillion, which is just like, there were years going back historically where the U.S. had no debt. I mean, that's going way back. I mean, the U.S. government's been in debt for years. And to be fair, COVID really escalated it, because what was the government supposed to do? Let people starve? I mean, they had to come up with these benefit programs because COVID was like just an unusual circumstance. But one thing that President Trump has proposed is, obviously a lot of people want to live in the United States, be U.S. citizens, be legal here, is for $5 million you can get a gold card visa, which would give the holder permanent residency in the United States and a path to citizenship. So the hope is that enough wealthy people from foreign countries can come here, pay the $5 million, and that would be used to offset the national debt. So I don't know that you're going to get 1 million people that could come up with $5 million, but if you did, that could wipe out our national debt in one shot. So interesting idea. I don't think I ever heard that proposed before. Since I was a kid, I've heard some wacky government proposals in my life, things that somebody talked about doing. And you're like, for real? But so I've seen crazier, but who knows if we can we don't have to get 1 million, even if we can get, a few 100,000 people to come here and pony up the $5 million could solve a lot of our financial problems. So we'll see how that goes. Another thing that I mentioned last week, follow up, a straight woman in Ohio, about 60 years old or so, she claims not only did she get demoted, but less qualified people got promoted over her because they were gay and she was straight. So she sued, and at the lower courts, she lost, and now it's at the U.S. Supreme Court level, the highest court in the land, and they heard arguments on the matter. Now, the Supreme Court doesn't rule the day they hear the arguments. We probably won't know until like June what their decision is on this case. But commentators, I wasn't present obviously, but they're saying that the consensus, and the Supreme Court's always divided. Now it's not as dramatic because it looks like there's 6 basically conservative justices and 3 liberal justices. But there's always going to be a division. Not too many cases are a unanimous 9-0 decision. But the consensus seemed to be discrimination is discrimination. It's wrong whether a gay person or a straight person gets discriminated against. We don't want it either way. I think most people, even you don't need to be on the Supreme Court to agree with that. Discrimination is wrong. It's been going on for hundreds of years, and it needs to end. We should just treat everyone with respect and not base our opinion on their race or religion or color or anything like that. So we'll see what happens with that case. Surprisingly enough, it looks like she might win the case, but we'll see when their decision comes out. So a big problem, like when I was a kid, it wasn't an issue, but has become much more of a problem in sports, is teams keeping their players. Because what happens is teams win a championship and they have good players, obviously, and those players want to be paid more. And in football and every sport, they have some form of what's called a salary cap. Like the team can only pay their players so much money, the collective, amount to the whole team. So what's going to be an issue for the Philadelphia Eagles, the recent Super Bowl champions, is how are they going to, keep everybody? they're bound. You're bound to lose some players when you're a championship team. You just can't keep everybody because other teams offer your guys more money, and we understand it is a business. You can't blame them, but the Eagles are making moves to try to keep their core players, and they have a relatively young team, and they should be in a position to make another run at it if they can do it. My understanding is, Saquon Barkley might restructure his contract if it hasn't been done already, so they can free up money to spend on other plays. That's like, for those who don't know, like most teams in the NFL, if not all, have like an executive whose job is to just oversee the salary cap, like to figure out ways to save money. Well, if we restructure this guy, so right now his contract is for, say, 3 years at $5 million a year. We'll restructure and make it 5 years at $3 million a year or something like that, to try to free up money and, follow all the rules. I think even in basketball, they have someone, that's job is to monitor the salary cap. And, well, if we do this, we can save money and we can use that money to, pay better players or keep our good players. So we'll see what happens with that. Baseball spring training, so the season should be starting probably about 5 weeks. Baseball season will begin. Looks like the Dodgers are the favorite again, L.A. Dodgers. The Yankees took a big hit, and they lost Juan Soto to the Mets. A lot of people think the Mets could be the team to beat in the National League. The Phillies, they're obviously loaded. So we'll see what happens with baseball. Basketball, the leader in the East is the Cleveland Cavaliers are running away with it. And I shared this on like prior episodes when they started the season. They won like their first 13 games or something. But I like to see Cleveland do well. I'm happy for the city of Cleveland, but the Cavaliers have a good team. I really can't see who has a shot to beat them coming out of the East. The Celtics, they seem to have fallen back. Philadelphia's not doing, they're no good. I mean, they lost, the injuries to their best player, Joel Embiid. I just don't see, the Bucks have taken a step back. I really don't see who is come out of the East that maybe give them a run. One team that's on fire is the Detroit Pistons, and that is another team, another city that I'd like to see do well is Detroit. They've been through a lot. Detroit was a premier city in the United States in 1950 with the auto industry and what have you, and has fallen upon hard times. So we like to see Detroit do well. They have some really good young players, and if they're not going to be there this year, I'd say look out for them next year or the year after. In the West, the Lakers are, I think, 4th in the West right now, NBA West. They have LeBron James obviously still playing at. I share this all the time. I mean, that may be, you talk about great achievements in sports. Like USA hockey team won the Olympics in 1980 against an unbelievable Russian team. Just that's a miracle. The name says it all, Miracle on Ice. And you talk about other sports feats. But I think LeBron James, is certainly one of the 5 best players in the NBA right now, in my opinion, and he's 40 years old. That's, that he stays in shape, and can still do it at that age. And so, and obviously they have Luka Doncic, that they acquired in a recent trade. And I think the Lakers are 7-2 since the trade. So if they can gel, if LeBron and Luka, maybe we'll call them the L&L boys. Can I trademark that? If the L&L boys can, gel. Basketball's so much about talent, but even more so, I think it's about chemistry. Like so many instances over the years of teams that maybe had the best players, but they didn't play well together, and a team that beat them did play well together. But I think if the Lakers can gel, look out. And they're starting to, integrate some of their other lesser known players into the lineup. The Lakers could be a team to beat in the West. That'd be an interesting matchup, like the Lakers against Cleveland or the Lakers. LeBron James playing his hometown team in the NBA Finals. That'd be interesting. So we'll see what happens with that. In hockey, we're in the second half of the season now. Our hometown team here, we're coming to you, for those who don't know, from Sarasota, Florida, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're a team that lost some players. They won the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row a few years ago. And like I mentioned earlier, they lost some players due to salary constraints. But their goalie, many experts consider the best player in all of hockey around the world, is Andrei Vasilevsky. And he can carry that team on his back. Like when he's hot, it really doesn't matter who they're playing. They're not going to lose that game. So I say look out for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Winnipeg Jets in the West are really playing. And that's another city I mentioned I root for is Winnipeg. It's it's not a large city in Western Canada. Really, really brutal weather most of the year. And, has a high crime rate. But the Winnipeg Jets are playing really good hockey, so maybe, they can make a run at it. That'll be interesting to see. I think that covers all the major. Golf has started up. Just the early tournaments. We really haven't, gotten into any. The first major tournament, there are 4 major tournaments in golf, is the Masters in April. So I guess the question everybody always asks every year, will Tiger Woods play? Will Tiger Woods play? There's some people that say that, he's gone through so many unbelievable injuries. Like if Tiger Woods were to ever win a big tournament again, that's another feat that would be up there with, some of the stuff I mentioned, at his age and with the injuries, he had multiple back surgeries, broken legs. I mean, it would be a real miracle if he were able to, get it, just, do it one more time. That would be unbelievable. But either way, I mean, he's had a brilliant career, Tiger Woods. One other, getting back to economics and finance, one topic I forgot to mention is I'm not shy about on this program about midnight. I like to go to Hooters, and if I never said it before, like I grew up in New Jersey, like they had some Hooters, and if I did go, it was always horrible. Like I never went to Hooters. If I went, it would just be like somebody dragged me there, or had no choice in the matter, or like some kind of meeting there. Never would have went on my own, but since I moved to Florida and I never had any interest in going to Hooters, but there really are. They have outside dining. You can sit out and eat and have a drink, and beautiful girls, and very well run and great food. So I really enjoy Hooters. But their parent company, Hooters of America, apparently is going to file for bankruptcy if they already haven't done it. They have approximately $300 million in debt. So a lot of times for people who hear bankruptcy, they think, whether it's an individual or a business, they think, oh, broke. They're over. They're out of business. If it's an individual, they're done. That's not the case anymore. Like a lot of times there are what they call strategic bankruptcies, where a business or even an individual for that matter will file for bankruptcy to restructure debt or avoid a liability. Sometimes you see wealthy people that maybe have litigation against them. So to avoid having to pay, a lawsuit judgment, they file for bankruptcy. So I'm not worried about Hooters going away. I just think, they have to restructure their debt. They may close some, non-performing locations, but I mean, you see Walmart, the largest retailer in the world, occasionally closing stores. So you're constantly, if you're a retailer or a restaurateur, you have to, constantly oversee your locations and, try to reopen or open, better locations and close non-performing locations. So I'm not worried about Hooters going away anytime soon. It's funny, you see a lot of celebrities are like commenting on that you never would have thought would go to Hooters. Like some were like NBA players, okay, no surprise there, but even some Like Kelly Clarkson, a singer, has a talk show, daytime talk show. I think she was quoted this week as like, something to the effect of Hooters better not be going away. So Kelly's on board. Maybe, who knows, maybe Kelly will put together an investor group to buy Hooters. I'll join that group. But I think that covers it all this week. I don't have Morgan and Joe here to comment, so we're going to have an abbreviated episode. And we look forward to seeing everybody again next week. Have a great week.